play. And another foul on board. His third for setting a screen.
Because of physical play, although George Taylor just got caught with a moving screen.
Pick and roll. And a foul, offensive foul coming up. Ken Valentine's standing right there.
Izzo dying for a moving screen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Moving Screen Podcast. I'm Brendan Quinn of The Athletic, here with Dylan Burkhart of umhoops.com. Dylan, how you doing, man?
I'm good. We got a special episode for everyone
This is
this
big
week.
time. This is big time, and we hope to have a lot of first-time listeners this week, so we just want to do a quick introduction to what this podcast is. We cover on a pretty regular basis, both Michigan and Michigan State, as well as the Big Ten as a whole. We used to kind of have these jamboree episodes where we would do all at once. Now we kind of split things up into Michigan specific, Michigan State specific, Big Ten specific when we can. Today is the first annual Moving Screen Big Ten Beat Writer Draft. Is that what we want to call this? I don't even know.
We should put as many words in the title as possible.
I think so too. What was Michael Scott's charity 5K? Something like that. So we have some special guests that will be introduced when the draft actually begins here. But it's just impressive. We went from having 0 guests in the history of the show to 3 guests at once. Went from nothing to a full-blown menage a pod.
Oh, gosh. And then back to nothing again. So we hope that if you guys like the podcast, enjoy listening to us talk about Michigan, Michigan State, and the Big Ten, that you rate, subscribe, listen, and follow along throughout the season. I think Brendan wants to tell a little bit about this draft idea. This was his brainchild. So what exactly is going on when this episode starts, Brendan?
Yeah, we're not exactly it's in the idea of a fantasy draft. We're not actually treating this thing like a fantasy league. Everyone has too much time with their day jobs to be having a side fantasy league. But we are doing, we kind of wanted this to be a kind of representation of if you were to draft by value in the Big Ten, how would you kind of rate these players? Who would go first? Who has the most kind of to bring to the table in terms of multiple stats across the board? It's not just one metric or something like that. Dylan, do you have the scoring in front of you by chance?
I do not.
You do not. Okay.
But essentially, you accumulate points for the normal, right? Counting stats, right? Points, rebounds, assists, steals, and then you lose a half point for missed field goals to kind of have some parameter of efficiency. But
also negative points for turnovers too.
And turnovers as well. So basically kind of an aggregate score. Nothing's going to be perfect in this sense, but just wanted to go along and draft. Everyone drafted 8 players, and we're going to casually follow along throughout the year. You can't make any changes or anything like that, but the best 7 players will count toward your final score, and we can look back and see who wins and who comes in last.
Yeah, we hope to have a postseason kind of recap where we get everyone back together and we'll bullshit again about the whole thing and have a good time with it. So maybe some bragging rights in there, which is always good. But real quick, before we get to the draft itself, we just want to remind everyone this is an advertisement-free podcast. We don't get anything from doing this. We do this as a supplement to our actual jobs. I work for The Athletic, and Dylan works for Hoops, or is Hoops, I guess. It's your site. So real quick, if you want to support this, make sure you subscribe to both. On The Athletic this week, I have a piece kind of looking at Franz Wagner's injury and kind of what it means in various ways to both the rotation and to kind of where he'll fall, I think, in terms of his place at Michigan as a freshman. I also have a longer piece on Michigan State's Gabe Brown and kind of the countless possibilities that he presents as a sophomore at multiple positions and all that good stuff. And then also a piece on Detroit Mercy's Mike Davis Jr. And it's more of a human interest piece on a summer unlike any other for him. He's a 34-year-old. He suffered a stroke back in June and has kind of been coming to grips with certain things. So check that out on the site, and have some larger projects coming up in the preseason that I'm pretty excited about that look forward to sharing with you guys later. What about you? What do you have on UM Hoops there, Dylan?
I also wrote a story about Franz Wagner's injury and his impact on Michigan's season early on, naturally. But we'll also have a story coming up today about Sadie Washington, some other good stories coming out of Media Day. Also look at Howard Isley. We'll have lots of content. I mean, the season's 1 week away, and this is
you've got
showtime.
And you've got a nice stable of writers going now. It's not just you.
Yep.
You have some guys helping you out. Tell the folks about that.
Yep, we're really excited to have Ethan Sears and Max on board. We are gonna have we'll have more writers coming on as well. It's gonna be a big year, and there's gonna be a lot to cover with this new regime.
Terrific. So make sure you subscribe to both our sites and check out my other podcast with my colleague Nick Baumgartner. That's called The Beat. That is available also in iTunes, but you're better off if you are an Athletic subscriber. Make sure you are listening within the app, and you can get the full episodes. We have a very special one that we're recording later today that I'm looking forward to. So with that, enjoy the draft. Welcome, everybody, to the first annual Moving Screen Big Ten Extravaganza Draft. I am Brendan Quinn from The Athletic. Dylan Burkhardt, as always, on the other end. And we have guests, Dylan. This is a big day.
It's a full house. We have a whole crew here.
So we're hoping the audio is okay, and if it's not, well, stuff your complaints up your ass. We don't have time for it. We have three excellent, outstanding experts to join us in what will be the first of many, I'm sure, Big Ten drafts. From the Indianapolis Star, Zach Osterman. Say hello, Zach.
I'm watching soccer. Leave me alone.
You're going to have to lean a little bit into that mic there, big boy. I know you're in full lounge mode, but let's put in some...
I'm off today. What do you want from me?
All right. Joining us from the Lansing State Journal, Graham Couch.
If anybody else takes Geo Baker, I quit.
I feel like this is like a Graham Couch Super Bowl right here. You were brought aboard for your takes, and we expect you to be bringing it here.
It's not good. That's not good at all. All right.
You have an entire daily radio show where you just spit nonsense. I'm sure you have an extra hour in you today.
Yeah, but we don't actually have an audience. This show has an audience, so I'm nervous.
Last but not least, from the Wisconsin State Journal, the great Jim Polzin, Wisconsin beat writer. How are you, Jim?
I'm great. I'm literally only here to see if any Wisconsin players get drafted.
It's actually a really fair question. So our thinking was, it's Dylan and I. It's our show, so we're obviously a part of the draft. Zach, we mainly wanted to pick up on that monster Indiana audience. Graham is here for his takes, and Polzin, we really needed to infiltrate deeper into that fertile west side of the Big Ten. We figured we could ignore the East. No one cares about Rutgers or anything. So, and here we are.
To be clear, I have Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Wisconsin.
Those are the only teams you're allowed to draft from, Jim.
Okay, fair enough.
So the format is we've already pre-selected the order. Jim has the first pick, I believe. Let me pull this up here and make sure I have this correct. Jim has the first pick. Zach Osterman has the second pick. Dylan is third. I am fourth. Graham is fifth. And we're going to snake order it back, so Graham will pick fifth and sixth. Then back.
I need to draft in 51 seconds, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this.
I think the thing is paused, isn't it? No?
Nope, it got started up again.
Okay. All right. So, due to some technical difficulties, we already had the first pick go to Jim, not surprisingly. Jim, do you want to tell us who you selected?
I'm going to take Cassius Winston, and thank you for letting me go first.
Shocking. This is a shocking development. Let's skip right ahead to Zach. What are you doing at number 2?
I took Lamar Stevens.
Lamar Stevens, Penn State. What is the thinking there?
I mean,
there are negative points for missed shots.
I mean, there are, but there are positive points for literally your team needs you to do everything. Like to shoot, score, defend, rebound, assist, possibly drive the bus. So I'm just assuming Lamar Stevens will do all of those things.
Fair. He missed, I think Dylan looked up, he missed 350 shots last year.
He's due.
Okay. Did we lose Dylan already?
I think we can probably pick Dylan's for him. Does anyone have the lowest rated freshman in the league?
I'd say we just we maybe give him
Steven Izzo.
give him
Having all your faces on my screen just broke my computer, but we are back. I figured out how to turn off the video.
All right. So Cassius Winston off the board, Lamar Stevens off the board. Dylan, you're up.
You guys are leaving me in a tough spot here.
Disagree.
Disagree? I'm going to have to go with the player who I've been very vocal about not really liking, but I'm going to take Caleb Wesson with this pick.
Wow. Okay.
Feel like there's
a begrudging pick at number 3. You don't really usually see that on draft day.
Oh, by the way, there's not like rules about positions with this, are there? Like
no, 8 best players, whoever you want.
8 best players.
All right, cool. This isn't the AP ballot. Got it.
All right.
Brendan, you are up
am I
next.
Or do you want to trash your own pick more, Dylan?
I mean, Caleb Wesson, he put up numbers last year. I feel like he can only play more minutes. I guess the other options would be, Xavier Simpson. I don't think he can play any more minutes than he did last year.
I think it's a terrible pick, and it's because I took the guy that I'm about to take the guy that you should have taken.
Who are you going with, Joe Wieskamp or someone like that?
Ayo DeSumo.
Damn it.
Illinois.
Okay.
Top 20 in scoring in the league last year. Top 10 in assists and rebounds. He's going to take 1 million shots. He's going to play 1 million minutes. But enjoy Caleb Wesson.
Those rebounds and blocks. Easy points.
Well, this is true.
All right. Well, I had no plan B after AO. So
to be fair, neither does Brad Underwood. That's mean. That's mean. I shouldn't be that mean. As the card carrying member of the Georgie fan club, I shouldn't be that mean.
There you go.
So I've got 417 to figure out a plan B. You guys just hang tight for a while. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna. That was it. That's all I had. All right. I'm gonna take the guy I think is gonna have I think he's due for a big sophomore year. Joe Wieskamp. He's no AO, but he's on an Iowa team that scores a lot, that doesn't play any defense. He fits the mold. He's the first NBA guy I think in a while too. So I like him a lot.
A lot of shade on Tyler Cook there.
I got
another pick.
Yeah, man. This is snake order, man. This is the big leagues.
All right, this is a risky one, but he's not going to be around when we come back.
Ooh!
Wow. You have
Aaron
to
Henry,
announce. You have to announce your pick here. I'm not.
Yeah, you have.
I'm not Roger Goodell over here.
Sorry, I'm not very good at this thing. Aaron Henry, the next pick. Like, obviously, Aaron Henry could not be what they're expecting him to be or what he hopes to be this year. But if he is, I think that's a really good pick. I think he'll be a fairly efficient player who rebounds, who scores, gets a few assists, has some defensive stats. Sort of fits the mold of what wins in this fantasy league.
It's a bit of a bold move going with someone who, what did he go? What was his shooting last year? I think he made
KenPom.com.
He made 15 of 39 threes. That's a bold pick with the 6th overall pick, but
the question is, would he be around with the 30th overall pick, which is the next time I select? So I don't know if
you just had to get yourself some Aaron Henry. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are snaking back This is going to be round 2, pick 2, back to me. I will go ahead and I'm going to snag. I knew Anthony Cowan was still going to be on the board when I got to this pick, and I'm going to be.
You going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of this, points and assists, he's going to have a lot of both. So I will take Anthony Cowan.
Wow.
What did he average? Like 3.9 assists in 48 minutes last year?
Something like
I'll
that.
be honest. That was my pick. If you didn't, if he made it to me, he feels like he's in a little bit of a Yogi Ferrell-esque situation where it's taken him 3 years to really figure out like what a point guard does. But being a senior tends to crystallize a lot of things for a guy, and I think Maryland's going to need him. I just think he's going to be a good player this year. I really do.
His three-point shooting is going to regress positively. I think we've talked about this quite a bit on this podcast.
Yeah, what is
the hell does that mean?
It's going to progress to the mean.
Oh, okay.
He can't shoot that poorly again.
I don't think that's the way you phrased that.
Well, that's all right. Anthony Cowan needs some defending on this podcast because Brendan has been trashing him for weeks now.
All right. Well, Dylan, I know exactly what you're about to do here, but round 2, pick 3.
So I'm a little torn about going big because I think that bigs might be a little overvalued in this league, but I'm still going to go with Xavier Simpson just because he's going to play just about every minute of every game. He's going to get stats in more ways than just scoring, and seems just like a good fit here.
Underrated rebounder, Xavier Simpson.
He did have a triple-double last year.
Yeah. No, he's going to grab a ton of boards. He's going to have a ton of assists, especially if they're playing faster, a little bit faster this year. Maybe even a little scoring uptick, and you figure, I don't know if his 3-point shooting could go down. That would be bad for Michigan if it did, but anything else on your pick?
There aren't really a lot of ways for his usage to go down this year, I'd say. I mean, he can't play more than he did last year, really, but he's going to need to have the ball in his hands at basically all times for this Michigan team, so hard to not go with him.
Right. All right, Zach.
I'm typing softly. Give me 1 second. I'm debating a pick here.
Well, talk us through it.
Well,
it's a podcast.
One
He
thing
doesn't want to
first.
give it away because I'm going to steal it on this snake.
All right. I'm after, and this may just be my guilty conscience after trashing Illinois, but I'm going to take Georgie. I really do like Georgie. I think he's going to be a really efficient player offensively. I don't know how much I'm going to get punished for how little defense I think Illinois is going to play overall, but that dude's already a really good finisher for a freshman. I think he's just going to get better. And honestly, I was really hoping Cowan would fall to me. So, like Graham, I kind of had to scramble there at the end.
You don't lose fantasy points for giving up buckets, so.
No.
Excellent. Fantastic.
And he's going to shoot like 65% from the field because I'm not buying this whole Georgie's suddenly going to show some perimeter game narrative that I've seen coming out of Champaign.
If he does, I'll have a word with him because he's in my 8 now, and I'll sit him down and make it clear what the team expects from him.
All right, Jim.
Well, the first pick is easy. I'm going with Xavier Tillman, who, for a big guy, does a little bit of everything. Blocks, even for a big guy, gets a lot of steals, scores. I think he's going to score a lot of points for me. This is an easy pick. The next one is not so easy. I'm between 2 guys, and since there's no way to get back to me, I'll announce them here. Jalen Smith, I think, is an easy, obvious choice. The other one that scores a lot of points, when I did this, crunch the numbers, was John Teske, who does a ton of stuff. I'm going to go with the higher upside, though, and take Jalen Smith. And I will actually do that officially.
Pretty crazy that Jalen Smith is like top 5 in everyone's list, and somehow we managed to pick him 10th in this draft. He's probably going to be going upward.
Yeah, he'll probably go a little bit higher than some of these guys in the actual NBA draft when that comes around. I don't know if George. I don't
As
know
an
if.
aside, this is not working for me, fellas? Am I not actually making picks on here?
No, you're good.
No, you are.
They're through.
Okay.
They're through.
Sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
Who we got now? We go back to Zach. Lots of Indiana players still on the board.
I'm gonna it's hard to overlook them, but I'm actually gonna grab the other guy Jim was debating. I'm building a wonderful 1980s era NBA Eastern Conference semifinals team, and I'm gonna take John Teskey.
Dang it!
It's a good pick.
Nobody can shoot, but we're gonna go like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'10", 6'11". So if this doesn't work out, we'll just play volleyball.
2 feet in the paint all day.
Yes.
Back to you, Dylan.
I feel like I'm constantly stuck sorting between players who I don't actually like, but are going to be productive in this spot. So a little bit tricky there. I'm going to go with a guy who I'd be terrified to build a real team around, but I think Matt Painter's going to try. I'm going to take Nogel Eastern, and I don't know what he's going to actually really do out there, but he's going to be out there. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get steals. He's going to get blocks. He's going to get maybe a few buckets, probably not from more than 15 feet away from the basket, but I think he's going to be productive in this format.
That was sneaky. Did you know I was going there, Dylan?
No, I like to base my picks on who I think, and you can go any which way. I don't know.
All right, I'm also finding myself between a grouping of bigs. I might just go with the one that I like the most. Ooh. Can anyone guess who my 3 bigs that I'm debating are?
Matt Harms.
Oturu?
Those are 2.
I got another one, but I really want him to get back to me. So
I'm going to go with my gut here and not my head, and I'm going to say Luka Garza from Iowa is my pick here.
How does that usually work out for you?
Lots of points. Oh, terribly. But lots of points, lots of rebounds. He's going to shoot about 75% from the field. Iowa, like Graham said, is going to play 1 million possessions per game. Lots of buckets to be had. Someone's got to score them. Someone's got to get all them transition buckets when you're not playing defense on one end. So, Luka Garza.
All right.
Oh, wait. All right. So, I forgot I'm hosting
Graham.
here. Graham, back to you, brother.
Luka Garza is the one guy I'm pretty confident could not stop me one-on-one.
Doesn't matter.
That, I saw him stop Romeo Langford one-on-one last year.
Well, okay.
So
you know who did it? You know who did the best job of stopping Romeo Langford last year?
Romeo Langford.
Romeo Langford.
So I'm going to be on brand here and take a guy that I'm a little worried about, but I think his production points are going to be amazing. So may his missed shots. I've got to have me some Geo Baker.
Oh, baby.
I don't know how this is all going to go.
I feel like that's a point that, or a pick that could have lasted.
Waited. But I'm gonna go with Arturo. Otherwise, I think he's going to have. This is an opportunity in Minnesota for him to have a pretty big year on a team that really needs him and put up a lot of numbers. And that's sort of my next big available. I could be in trouble here. I'm a little worried about a couple things already. But I really thought AO was going to be available. I built my whole plan around AO. I didn't have a backup plan, and so that's where we are right now.
Will Geo Baker be the highest scoring player on Rutgers in this format? I'm not sure.
Ooh. Graham is over there. I can see him. He's sitting in the sun, but that was some shade.
The missed field goal change that Brendan made right before the draft might help Geo Baker out a little bit, though.
True.
It's only losing half points on those chucks.
I didn't feel like a point and a missed field goal should be worth the same value. Or like 1 versus -1. So we made a little.
Did anybody feel like letting me know about that change?
No, you're good, man.
Was that the trade-off for giving me the first pick?
Exactly. Yeah, enjoy
Just not
Cassius
talking to
Winston. No one feels bad for you. Okay. I am up round 4, or second pick of the 4th round. I am going to. Matt Harms is still there, so I'm going to go ahead and just snag Matt Harms because I think that makes by far the most sense. He will give me points in 3 categories: points, rebounds, blocks, play a lot of minutes. I think that's a absolute no-brainer here.
Over Gio, it would have been a no-brainer, you're saying?
Yes, it would have.
So right now I'm working with a team that the best shooter is Caleb Weston. I might try to stick with the trend here. So I think I have to go with a non-shooter.
This league is going to be like the old Big East. We're just going to beat the crap out of each other. Fights in every game, every single one, and nobody can hit any shots. It's going to be awesome.
But I might actually veer off and go with a little shooting. I'm going to take – this is tough. I'm going to go with Isaiah Livers. I think he will be a guy who is in the double-digit scoring and probably goes a little undervalued when everyone is looking at this list of players just because he's going to play 50% more minutes this year. So I will throw him in there and maybe get a little bit of scoring on my team.
Should get a little uptick on the rebounds there this year as well.
Yeah, you would think so. Just with more playing time, he's going to increase all these numbers.
Okay, and we are going back to Mr. Osterman.
Wait, why?
Isn't this you?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because it's your pick, that's why.
All right.
Is everyone
is
drinking,
tough.
by the way? How many of us are drinking?
Water.
I think just you.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
I mean, it's my off day. I'm having a beer.
Attaboy.
All right. This is my risky one that I'm probably going to blame Alex Bozich for if it doesn't work out. But I'm taking Reavers.
Reavers?
Thank God. No, the only reason I say that is I did not want to be the first one to take a Wisconsin guy.
Bozich thinks he's, and I listen to Bozich more than I should, but he thinks he's going to have a great year. I remember talking to his high school coach last year for no really good reason at all, and being very impressed with, generally speaking, what he thought was about to happen. So screw it. Like I said, I have no one that can handle the ball on this team. It's great.
I'll actually defend that pick, Zach. I mean, I seriously think someone's got to get the rebounds that Ethan Happ got. Somebody's got to score some of the points that Ethan Happ left behind. I think Reavers' numbers are going to go up enough to at least make him valuable at this, in round 4 or wherever we're in.
I have 2 points to make. If I based my picks off of what high school coaches, how they sold their players, I would have drafted Adrian Nunez, number 1 overall. And quick question.
Okay,
for
to
Jim.
be fair, I'm paying a lot more attention to this Liverpool game than I am this draft. That's why.
That was impressive composure as Liverpool scored a goal there.
Do you see that goal too? Oxlade-Chamberlain scored with the outside of his foot from 18 yards away. You don't do that normally. I mean, I do that every time I play soccer, obviously. But most people.
Is there a mute button? All right, Polzin. We have a. This is a momentous day for the Moving Screen podcast to have you on the show to get the actual pronunciation of his last name.
Of Nate Reavers?
Reavers.
Where you just have to keep saying it wrong though. It's on brand.
We call him Reavers because we don't know what it is, and we'll probably stick with it because we're already going to forget what you just said.
This is probably a good time to point out that my last name is pronounced Polzin, not Polzin. Let it go for 20 minutes.
Wait, is that right?
Yeah, it's Polzin.
I've been calling you Polzin for 5 years.
Like 95% of the people in the world call me Polzin, so I'm not offended. But
there's no E on the end of your name.
Yeah. I can't defend how it's pronounced. I just know
take it
how
up.
Pronounced.
I think your argument is probably with somebody from 400 years ago, Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm glad
it's my turn, huh?
I'm really glad this thing's already off the rails, and it is your pick, Jim.
Okay. I am going to go with Trent Frazier, hoping he's a little bit more efficient this year. I still think he's going to score points. He probably misses a little too many shots, but since you guys made that change and finally notified me about it. I'm just going to go that way. Here's my surprise pick. This is the one that I thought you might be thinking, Brendan, but probably wasn't even on your radar. Is Mike Watkins from Penn State, who is a very scary pick. I absolutely admit that. But if he can stay A, healthy, B, eligible, he gets
C on the court,
gets a lot of block shots. I just think that it's a decent pick at this point.
If you're from Philly, you're on Brendan's radar, so he certainly was on the radar.
Big Mike Watkins fan would also scare the hell out of me to draft him, because it's like you don't know if he's going to play 30 minutes and dominate or play 11 minutes and create a week-long conversation around Penn State basketball. That was my point.
Exactly. I'm done. I have no more analysis.
Zach, you're up next.
Back to you, man.
We still do not have a Indiana player off the board, a Northwestern player off the board, and a Nebraska player off the board.
That's a really big surprise. Nebraska lost its entire team last year. Why is that a surprise to anyone? Is Joey Hauser playing? I have not paid close enough. Since I cover the best football team in the Big Ten now, I have not paid very close attention to the Hauser situation. Is he playing?
Yes, take him.
All right. Well, in that case, you know what? I'm gonna. I want to take Proctor, but Painter's got a real hot and cold history with grad transfers. Like at some point, somebody's got to score, produce points, and I'm not convinced it's going to be Nojel Eastern. But by the same token, Painter doesn't have a great history of that. Man, we're starting to get down into it a little bit, aren't we? You know what?
The entire Indiana roster that you cover is on the board.
All right. I'll make the call. I need somebody to turn the ball over. I'm taking Devontae Green. In all seriousness, he's going to get a lot of shots. I think Indiana is going to be in a position where they're better shots for him because Robert Finney is going to run point rather than Green running point. So there will be a lot more of Devontae Green looking for the kinds of shots a shooting guard would want to take, which I think is, in the end, a lot of what Devontae Green's game actually is. I think he's going to be liberated a little bit in the offense because Indiana just doesn't have a lot of other options. And if you actually look at it, beyond the turnovers, and if you really remove the on-ball work that he does that I don't think he will do as much this year, his offensive numbers are actually kind of encouraging. I am not as convinced as Brendan, who I think may have put him third team All Big Ten.
Sure as shit did.
But I do think he is going to be good this year. I think he's going to be Indiana's best three-point shooter, which obviously may not be saying a ton, but I think it's going to be important for this team. And I think he's going to get a lot of numbers. And I don't know if he's always going to do it efficiently, but I do think he's going to get a lot of numbers.
Yeah, double figures in their last 7 games of the year. Put 26 on Ohio State. He put 18 on Arkansas. I like that pick. I like Devontae Green going into this year.
He's a good 3-point shooter, and nobody realizes he is because he takes so many other questionable shots that you kind of assume that the 3-pointers are also questionable. But you look at it like he's a career, I think 40-something% 3-point shooter. So. And Indiana needs to hit those shots this year. They've got to focus on setting him up for that stuff.
If you take away the turnovers, it's a great endorsement of his offensive skill.
But no, that's fair. But he's basically played as a pseudo point guard for 3 years, and I don't think he's going to do that this year because Indiana's going to need him to get off the ball and get points because they've got nobody else that can consistently score them in their backcourt.
No, I agree, and someone has to score for that team.
Exactly.
He's going to get we've seen that he can get his shots up on just about any team, right?
Right. I mean, and he can shoot from deep. Now, I'm with that seriously not being flippant, I don't know that I would agree that somebody has to score for that team. I think there's going to be a lot of nights where just nobody scores for that team. But I think he's as good of a candidate as anybody.
Fair enough. All right.
Excellent.
Next
Dylan,
up,
you're up.
We are on round 5, pick number 3, and I'm going to go with Travion Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a guy who will also stuff the stat sheet at Purdue. Again, another team that we don't know who's going to score, but he's a guy that if he's on the court, he's going to be productive on a per minute basis. So I like him in this spot.
Good pick. All right. I'm going a little bit of a wild card here. I'm up, right? Yeah. I'm taking a little bit of a wild card pick because I want my squad to have a little JUCO flavor.
Oh.
So I'm going with Gervais Green from Nebraska, who might be the best pick of this draft, will likely be the worst pick of this draft. But from everything I've seen, to use Dylan's parlance, he is a certified bucket getter. And Nebraska's going to play 1,000,000 miles an hour. Someone's going to have to score a bunch of points. I'm going to bank on Gervais Green.
Interesting. That was not the Nebraska player I was going to pick. Interesting twist.
Interesting twist.
Yeah, but the problem with that is Isaiah Roby's in the NBA and nobody realized it. So the Nebraska player you're going to pick's not in the field.
It's about as present as Isaiah Roby was in about half of their games last year.
All right. We're throwing big shots at the departed players of the Big Ten so far.
I'm defending Isaiah Roby here. Dylan is the one throwing shots.
Okay, so in a stunning turn of events, Gervais Green is off the board. Cross him off your list, Couch, because I'm sure that I mainly wanted to get the one available JUCO guy before you could. So there we go. You're up. Your pick. Fifth round, fifth pick.
Yeah, it's JUCOs and felons. I'm doing some background check right now. See who has a felony charge. No, I like the Proctor idea, and again, Purdue is like the most interesting team in the world because everybody thinks they're going to be good, but I don't know how they're going to be good. Like I guess
it's like you want to draft Matt Painter, not any of his players.
Correct. So if they're good, something's got to happen on the court. You can't go scoreless and rebound and be good. And so I'm gonna talk myself in the Proctor here. And I'm drafting Matt Painter by default and doing that. I feel like it's time to take a flyer on a freshman who could be boom or bust too. There are two guys in Wagner and Carton who I think could have good years. Now, how efficient they are, whether they fit the scoring here, nobody really knows. I'm going to go with Carton here, but this could be a horrible pick too.
I found it interesting. I was going to take two other Purdue players before the one that you just drafted.
Really?
Okay. So you're saying Proctor's a gamble then?
Hey!
All right, I'm calling the police. I'm sorry.
So Purdue, everyone says we don't know how they're going to be good, but we have four players off the board, and Quinn saying someone else you would take off the board. So something's not adding up with Purdue right now.
Yikes! All right.
What happens if they're just horrible? I mean, that could be the case too.
It would defy a lot of logic and years of evidence.
Yeah.
I'm going to also. Well, this is where it gets fun because I'm pretty sure now everyone's just going to be kind of throwing some darts around, and that's a good thing. I'm going to take someone that I came into the year high on. I like seniors, and I'm going to draft Andre Wesson from Ohio State.
I like that.
The room is shocked.
What? Do you get leadership points in this league?
No, I think he's going to play 1,000,000 minutes and do a lot of everything.
You think everybody's going to play 1,000,000 minutes. You've used the word million like 6 times already in this podcast.
Well, I didn't say it was original, man.
I think he's a very good player, and he'll play a lot of minutes. I just don't know if he's going to add a lot of fantasy value, right? Like, he's a guy I'd want on my team for sure, but let's see how – I don't know. I'm curious to see how he adds up numbers.
I was between him and one other, and I'm regretting it. I probably should have taken the other one.
I am going to go in a different direction. I'm going to take the Nebraska newcomer who is going to be the right pick. I'm going to go with Cam Mack. We can have a little podcast bet throughout the season to see who's putting up bigger numbers here, but I think he's going to really fill up the scoring column for a Nebraska team that should be fun to watch, if awful in the wins and losses column.
Which JUCO did he go to?
I have not studied his
He
JUCO
did.
film, but
I'm pretty sure he did not go to JUCO, which means...
I think he did.
Did he?
Do I have to dig into my Nebraska preview here?
Absolutely.
Seriously?
Salt Lake CC.
Oh shit, he did.
That's
I really hope I didn't mix up the two guys that I was looking at for Nebraska.
I think he might have.
Well, I'm gonna guess what? I'm gonna ride or die with Gervais Green.
No, they both put up insane numbers. I don't know which one you want.
All right, we are now going to Zach Osterman, round 6, 4th pick of the round.
Hey, Zach, did Liverpool give up a goal? Because I'm pretty sure I saw you flick off the screen. Am I?
No,
He's not even wearing a shirt
the
anymore.
team they were. No, somebody was given a very cheap foul, and I may have. Yeah. This is just a podcast. Nobody saw me.
No, just me.
Give someone the finger. This is a tricky one. Like, if I could draft Connor McCaffrey for what my buddy, who's a regional scout for the Phillies, says he can do on the baseball field, I would have picked him like 4 rounds ago. I may regret this actually, and I'm now in full homer mode. And these two guys have both sat out all of Indiana's preseason scrimmages, so taking Rob Finney and Devontae Green back to back could be really dangerous.
Wow.
But I like Finney's game a lot. I don't think he's going to score a ton of points, but I think he's going to do everything else really well. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't take bad shots. He will have a lot of assists this year. Like, I think Archie Miller is more or less just sort of going to tell him that he's going to have to play 33 minutes a night. And I think Finney can do that. He's a very good defender. And just generally, I think he's a really, really good young point guard. And he's probably out for the year, and I just don't know it yet. So that's usually my luck with fantasy draft situations. But we start to get into, as somebody said, I think, taking punts and taking chances. This is mine, I guess.
I like where your head's at. All right. Who are we heading to next? Back to Dylan.
No.
Polzin
on the end of the round, right?
Yeah, taking some interesting ones here.
Yeah, so I've already selected, so you guys can see what I've selected.
Oh, there it is.
First question. You do get like 4 points per charge taken, correct? No. Anyways, I'm taking Brad Davison from Wisconsin. Here's my theory. He does rebound, does not commit a lot of turnovers. I think his scoring is going to go up. I think he's going to be a more efficient shooter this year. It's like a 35% shooter last year from 3-point range. That number has to go up because some guys look like bad shooters. He actually has fine shooting form. I just think that number has to go up. So I'm taking Davison. I also consider Trice here, actually.
Yeah, sell me on Davison over Trice.
I kind of nerded up and went through the numbers and figured this out by a per game basis. And last year, Davison scored 14.1 points per game fantasy wise, and Trice scored 13.7.
Respect.
So that's my actual research right there.
I can't argue with the actual facts, so I'll give you that.
You can make fun of me in about 3 months or 4 months. My other pick is an upside pick, Miles Johnson from Rutgers. Just looking at his stats, he does nothing great, but a little bit of everything. Only averaged 4.8 points, but I think that number goes way up. He's 5.7 rebounds per game, 23 blocks, 23 steals. So I like Rutgers, a little bit, and I think he's a guy that's going to make a jump. So that's a total flyer, but whatever.
You know what they say about Rutgers? It's all about upside.
This is the year for Rutgers. Breaking
Is that
through.
what they say about Rutgers? That's not what anybody's ever said to me about Rutgers.
This is the year, man. Get on board. I do think that us collectively as beat writers need to change the language that we use when talking about Rutgers and maybe inject some positivity into the only program that really claims true eastern coastline residents, and I don't count Maryland. Mainly, Rutgers is close to Philly, so at some point, I think it has to
It's not close to Philly. I've driven from the Philadelphia airport to Rutgers. It's not close to Philly. That's a lie.
It is close to Philly.
It's not. It's emphatically not.
Before we move on, just some educational research here. This Franz Wagner injury, like how much is this going to derail his entire season?
Well, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. He will miss at least
3 to 8 games.
Yeah, I can't imagine him coming back on the front end of that timeline, just as been experience of how these things work, right? When does anyone ever come back at the earliest projected date?
But there's no negative fantasy points if you don't play at all, though, right?
But it's all a cumulative thing, so you're missing out on.
Right. They're like calories, Graham. Still count.
That I understand. Okay.
Zach, do you want to explain your pick over there?
Oh, yeah. I was just waiting for everybody to get done with their diet talk. So I'm relying pretty heavily on Adam Jardy here, but Jardy thinks that E.J. Little is actually the freshman that might do some volume scoring at Ohio State. At least this is what I heard, I think, when he actually, again, and I'm placing way too much faith in Alex Bozich here, but I think Jardy actually told Bozich that that's kind of what he thinks will be kind of the makeup from the freshman. I know that there are people who think that Carton could be, a one-and-done-ish player, maybe not necessarily hard and fast one-and-done, but that kind of level. But I guess Jardy thinks that Little could be the one that's scoring some volume points, and I figure everybody's got to take a couple chances. Now, I'm starting to take way too many chances, but we're also starting to get down into the portion of the draft where you can't really be sure of a lot. You have to basically be counting on something like, will Devontae Green be more efficient, or will Brad Davidson's, three-point shooting go up, those sorts of things. I figure I'll take a flyer on one freshman. I know that Wesson is obviously going to use a lot of possessions, but I also think Chris Holtman's a good coach, and I think that if Little is as good offensively as it appears Ohio State thinks he is, then I think you're going to see them maybe rotate away from putting so much of the offensive burden on Caleb Wesson's shoulders, at least in a percentage basis. This is one of those that it feels like could be high value for where I'm taking him, or, he won't do anything and I'm an idiot, which is nothing new, really.
Very fair. And I can't wait to call you an idiot. But
you can call me an idiot right now. Like it's not like it won't be true.
All right.
You really passed the buck on a lot of these picks. Maybe we just should have had Alex Bozich on the podcast if you're going to blame him for all of your picks.
That would be fine. I would be doing what I'm doing right now, sitting here on my off day watching Liverpool beat the third team in the Belgian league, drinking a beer. It would be the exact same thing I'd be doing on a Wednesday afternoon.
Fair enough.
What is the college basketball equivalent of the Belgian league conference-wise?
Oh, man. It's not high.
Are you watching some MAC hoops right now? Essentially,
yeah. It's like basically watching Virginia play somebody from like the Sun Belt, maybe
the SoCon Sun Belt, something like that.
Yeah, maybe like down in
shout out to UNC or UTC Chattanooga. All right,
maybe Summit League, somewhere in there. So, yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Seems like a healthy Wednesday. Who we got next, Dylan?
I'm going to go with another transfer. We will see if this works out, but I was a little bit higher on Minnesota than some. I'm going to go with Marcus Carr. I think he's going to be starting point guard, play 30-plus minutes a game, and I don't know who else can really dribble on that team, so I feel like it's probably a good pick.
I like that.
I do too.
Okay, and now this goes to me. All right, excellent. I'm taking a sophomore who I think has a really good chance of being kind of a breakout guy in the league this year. That would be Aaron Wiggins from Maryland. I know he wasn't I think he only started like 4 or 5 games maybe last year, but I see a lot of upside there. He led Maryland, I think, in shoot and three-point percentage. I know they challenged him this offseason. To kind of take on a larger role. And look, if Maryland's going to be what they're projected to be, top 15 caliber program, contender for a top 3 spot in the Big Ten. Well, there needs to be a third dude there, right? So give me Wiggins.
Or give you death.
The number of times I've seen him and thought it was Andrew Wiggins, I got really confused.
Very different players.
I was like, what? That's not how this works. That shows you where my brain is, like, after the football basketball overlap down here. I need like a solid 3 months to reset.
So you can't handle football basketball, but you're watching Sun Belt soccer.
Well, no, I'm watching the best team in the world play a Sun Belt soccer team.
Okay, moving on.
Just to be very clear.
Next up, so this is now going to be the 35th overall pick in the draft. We are entering the final round. This is the 8th round. We're all taking 8 players, unless you guys want to keep going and get real weird. But
when do we bring Kuiper
in? We go back to Graham, and I'm sorry, this is actually the last pick, 7th round, and then we'll go to the first pick of the 8th round. Graham, you're on the snake here.
Yeah, this is my first value pick of the entire draft. Demetric Trice. I actually, a lot of times when I do well in fantasy leagues, it's when I go against my gut. Basically, what I've seen.
It's a significant maneuver.
Yeah. Wow. Ouch. But fair.
Wow.
So I have not seen Trice play well in a long time, but the numbers say he's pretty good. And so at this point, I think it's a pretty good value pick. And usually when I'm drafting like fantasy football, if I don't know who the players are, I do really well. It's when I draft, Frank Gore 6 years after his prime that I don't do well. So I'm going to trust the numbers over my gut here and go with Demetric Trice. The other pick, and this one is really a flyer, and this is a guy I've kind of liked that the numbers don't agree with as much, but I was thinking about this as a late rounder, is Miles Dredd. And I know it may not work out, but whatever. It's been in my head for a while. So I'm going with it.
It's been a good run.
You didn't really sell that one. You sold me on Trice. You didn't sold, and I love Miles Dredd, also a proud Philadelphian. But that was not a confident pick, my man.
It was not. But one of these years, it's going to be Penn State's year. I think we've been saying that for a while. And if it is Penn State's year, then Miles Dredd will be a big part of that. How's that for a sales pitch?
I like it. This goes back to me, and I took a pick. I was convinced that you were going to grab this one, Graham, with one of your last 2 picks right there. But if you want to go late upside, I don't know how you go past Rocket Watts. Considering the news out of East Lansing yesterday about Josh Langford, I think Rocket Watts is a maybe boom bust guy, but I think it's a way more likely to be high production. And I know I'm going to enjoy watching the guy all year, so I want him on my team.
I like watching Penn State basketball. So
how could you pick Rocket Watts when Miles Dredd is just right there waiting for you to pick him?
Hey, you ever heard of Gabe Brown? That's a lot of shade at Gabe Brown. I don't think Rocket Watts is going to see the floor.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
I believe I spent 1,500 words on Gabe Brown this morning. Dylan, did I just steal your pick? I hope I did.
You did.
Nice.
You did. I didn't think I would really slide all the way this far considering who was picking in front of me, but you stole it. Congrats. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit torn here. I want to go with a Purdue guy, but I already have 2 Purdue guys on my team, so Aaron Wheeler can go on someone else's team. Mm-hmm. I do think he'll be good this year. I want to go with the Indiana guy because all the talk all summer has been that Indiana is going to play big, and they have Deron Davis, Joey Brunk, and Trace Jackson Davis. My problem is I'm not really sure if any of those guys is a level above the rest as far as playing time and production. So I was thinking of going with a Rutgers guy. I'm going to go with Yeboah, the transfer from Stony Brook, I believe, and I think he'll play a good role for them. Basically a Eugene Omoruyi replacement.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of him because his numbers were good at his Stony Brook, but like a 6'7" guard or I'm sorry, a 6'7" big playing in that league against Binghamton and whoever the hell else is out there, and transitioning to the Big Ten seems like it could be something where, yeah, he could get double digits and be something relevant, or easily fall into a kind of deep reserve role. No?
I guess it's possible. I think that Rutgers can get by with playing a undersized big, and they kind of have relied on that with Omaruyi the last couple of years. So I don't know.
When I saw him, I saw visions of Jerron Simmons and Evan Boudreau and the transfers to the Big Ten.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. How about that? Now you're making me feel bad about myself.
All right. We are now winding down here. Zach Osterman, what do you got?
Actually, I think I may. So I've actually been debating between two Purdue players. One is Aaron Wheeler, and the other is the guy that I think would probably wind up being my biggest reach if I took him.
Well, Stefanovic?
That's who I'm thinking of, and the reasons why. Number one, and this is where I get in danger of relying too much on Ken Pomeroy, but Ken Pom's comparison. One of Ken Pom's comparisons for Stefanovic last year was Sean McDermott the year before Sean McDermott turned into Sean McDermott, if that makes any sense, in terms of just kind of his efficiency and his numbers. I think it's worth pointing out Stefanovic also played 36 games last year, so it's not like it's a small sample size, and Purdue lost a lot of shooting. Like, they need somebody that can be a volume shooter.
I think it's a great pick.
I'm very torn between him and Aaron Wheeler. Like, I'm actually literally just sitting here watching soccer, trying to avoid the next 3 minutes, trying to figure out which one of them I'm going to take. But I think I'm going to go for Stefanovic. And I just think that the efficiency part of it is a big piece. In fact, I just made the pick. The efficiency part of it's a big piece. The fact that Purdue's just going to have to replace a lot of three-point shooting. I'd rather have a guy that he shot something like 41% from behind the arc last year. Maybe that goes down a little bit if he starts shooting with more volume. But I don't think it plummets for a guy that shot 61 threes over 36 games a season ago. It's not like he only shot 14 or 15. So I'm going to go for Stefanovic, and I just realized that I've had to talk myself into the last probably 4 picks in this draft. So this could be pretty rough, but it's fine.
I think that's a great late pick because worst case scenario, he makes threes on a nightly basis, a handful of threes. Best case scenario, he's a slight step back from Ryan Klein, who was damn near all-conference level player last year. So I love Stefanovic going into this year. I think that's a great pick. So you didn't mess that one up. That's good.
I should get fantasy points for Brendan thinking that was a great pick.
It's a high leverage pick when everyone else on Purdue underperforms, and then you have him.
Bingo. And finally,
Mr. Irrelevant.
There it is. Jim Polzin.
And the guy I'm picking last.
This is a big adjustment, switching up this name change.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for people.
Round 8, 5th pick of the round, 40th.
Are we getting a Northwestern player?
No. I can honestly say of all the people I'm considering, there's not a Northwestern player on the list.
No Pat Spencer love.
Not even the guy that played lacrosse?
That's Pat Spencer.
Right.
Okay, there we go. I'm never going to remember his name. I'm just going to remember him as the guy that played lacrosse.
So Zach almost talked me into Aaron Wheeler. I have to say that was his argument was okay on that one, but I'm not going to pick Aaron Wheeler. I don't know why I'm picking this guy because all he does really, his only value is making 3-pointers. But I'm taking Gabe Kalsher from Minnesota, who really doesn't do a lot of anything else. But I do think, like Dylan was saying before, I think somebody's got to score on that team with Jordan Murphy and Amir Coffey gone. So I'm going to cross my fingers that it's going to be Gabe Kalsher and hope that he can do a couple other things well. Maybe get some assists, maybe some rebounds, be efficient. That's my pick.
All right.
I think that's a good pick.
Thank you.
someone needs to score, and he will grow into a much bigger role as a sophomore, you have to think.
There is a lot of someone needs to score justification for picks going. Like, and I'm as
Big
guilty
Ten
as
basketball, Zach Osterman.
Basically, like that's basically what the league feels like this year. It's like someone needs to score. These games won't all end 49-47, but like then they do, and we all have to figure out a way to write about it.
All right. Well,
did anybody consider taking a flyer on Jordan Bohannon, just hoping he gets somewhat healthy and puts up numbers for?
I thought it was a reach. Games? I didn't give it much thought. Okay. I mean, if he were available, I would have probably taken. He'd be. What would you have him at? Like a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, if he's healthy.
If he was healthy, probably somewhere in there, 4th, 5th.
Yeah,
I think if it was a normal injury, maybe. Like the concern is just that it's always been like, hey, he may actually be out for the season. Hip surgery is not the sort of thing it sounds like is like you just sort of snap out of or snap back from.
Spike Albrecht shook that right off. No problem.
I'm a little concerned about my reliance on Rutgers, Minnesota, and Penn State.
So I think biggest names left on the board. If you guys can hang around for a couple minutes, we'll go through. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, is the one that jumps out to me the most of being still out there.
I forget who. I think it may have been Dylan who was talking about, IU's bigs, and I like in the aggregate, I think IU may have certainly the deepest front court in the league, maybe one of the best front courts in the league. I think the problem is that I don't know if any one of those guys is so good that, and also like so justifying, because they're all kind of different, and Indiana's going to have to make defending with bigs like basically its priority this year. I just don't really know that there's one of them that rises so far above the rest that you can judge, that you're not going to wind up in a situation where you say, well, if Joey Brunk could have his numbers and Deron Davis's numbers, he'd be good. I think it's going to be a cluster of guys that all shoot well on 2-point percentage, all rebound fairly well, probably all protect the rim fairly well, but not one of them gets 31 minutes and 12 shots a night is the problem.
I'm also curious, for all somebody's got to score talk. We didn't touch a Northwestern player. Like somebody does have
Northwestern's not going to score.
Team too.
Does Chris Collins have to score points? I'm not sure.
Or rebound or.
You can look at this. Can you look at Northwestern and pick who's going to be the top scorer on that team right now? If you pull up their roster,
AJ Turner will take the most shots, right?
Right. Yeah, but Turner never even crossed my mind, though. I mean, that's how bad it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Miller Kopp.
Yeah.
Boo Booey.
Is it possible that they won't have anybody average double figures? Could they have like 4 guys at 8.5, 9.5 points a game?
That can't be possible. That is spoken like a true Wisconsin beat writer.
I'd just like to say for the record that, like, if you look at Chris Collins' college stats, he can score. Like, if that team needs someone to score, Chris Collins can do it. He averaged 4.6 rebounds and 16.3 points a game as a senior. And that was only 23 years ago. So, like, I think it's possible that may be where they turn.
Do you know whose staff I would take in a 3-on-3 tournament? Anybody got a guess?
A 3-on-3 tournament?
Yeah, to take the 3 assistant coaches, no head coaches involved. 3 assistant coaches. What staff wins a 3-on-3?
I know which team I want to see play. That'd be Michigan, because I want to watch Phil Martelli actually ball out. But go ahead.
It'd be Wisconsin, probably because that's the only staff I know in full. But here's the 3 assistants: Lando Tucker, Joe Krabenhoff, and Dean Oliver, who is a really good player at Iowa. So there you go. Wisconsin might not be able to score this year, but I think their assistant coaches could.
Well, down there at Indiana, Bruiser Flint was no joke. You know why, Zach?
No.
You don't know why? You don't know why Bruiser Flint is a badass basketball player?
Is it just because he's from Philly? Because in that case, I'm taking Fran.
No.
Have you seen Fran's nickname from when he played in high school in Philly? They called him White Magic. That's not even a joke. That's real.
Fran transferred to Penn later. Brew began and ended at St. Joseph's.
Okay, but Fran played high school ball in Philly.
He did.
And unless I'm mistaken, his nickname was White Magic.
It was. That is correct.
Which is, like, if anyone wonders why he's my favorite coach in the league, Fran McCaffrey's backstory is wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and he's civil and a pleasure to be around. Does anyone have anyone that is sitting out there that they had circled that is kind of biting them in the ass right now of, I wish I grabbed him?
Wheeler is probably mine. Like, I was tempted. And
what was holding you back?
You and I both talked me into Sasha Stefanovic instead, basically.
True. Fair.
I think we'll look back and say we got Ohio State wrong. We picked 4 players from Ohio State, and I don't think they'll be the top 4 scorers on that team. But I don't know who will be.
Yeah, that was my problem. I didn't know. Like, I considered Luther Muhammad. I just didn't know where to go with Ohio State or Indiana. Those were 2 teams that really stumped me as far as who's gonna do the scoring.
I feel like
too.
I feel like if I had drafted 2nd or 3rd, I'd be a much better GM. I had AO, I had Isaiah Livers. Like, everybody I was about to take seemed to come off the board. So I blame the system for my team right now. But yeah, I'm fairly curious about, like, it's one of those, and this means I could be awful. Like, I feel like I've got this amazing at the top 2 picks with Henry and Wieskamp. Like, I feel like both those guys could be at the end of the year 2 guys that are first team All Big Ten guys that we're all talking about, or, you know, I mean, Henry could just be a slightly better version of who he was last year, and that's like the worst 2nd round pick in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm. The 2 that I had a couple flyers on my list that I might have started looking at if Watts wasn't out there. Well, I mean, one is I picked Kofi. Either way, from Illinois to win league freshman of the year. So for me to not then draft him and instead draft Rocket Watts is probably a bold move. But
diversify your risk.
Yes, Cockburn I do think has a really good chance to be something special at Illinois and be super productive because they desperately need a legit big to play with Georgie. So,
but if Langford doesn't go down, do you take Watts?
Probably not.
If Langford doesn't go down, does somebody take Langford?
Yeah, somewhere.
He would have been drafted.
Red. Yeah, of course.
I also had Alahan Demir, the Drexel transfer, coming into the league. And this has nothing to do with Philly, I swear to God. But I did just think him at Minnesota, that goes to the someone's got to score thing. There was another newcomer.
Did anyone think about Jamari Wheeler or Ron Harper Jr.?
I thought about Ron Harper Jr.
I think he could be really good for Rutgers.
Yeah.
Breakout guy and pretty productive in multiple areas. I also like Jamari Wheeler because he's going to get a bunch of steals, which I think are weighted fairly high. But just can't get excited about drafting Penn State guys in this.
What about for us not having any idea who the hell is actually on Nebraska or who's going to do anything else? Was there any consideration given to Deshaun Burke Jr.? Redshirted last year, played at Robert Morris for 2 years. He was a second-team all-league guy in college basketball before going to Nebraska. So
we're the only 2 idiots that were willing to just pick random Nebraska guys. So
that's a fair point.
It's got to stay on brand.
All right. Okay. Anyone else have anything? Dylan, do you have anything for the gang?
No. Let's hope this worked out. Otherwise, oh well.
What the fuck?
So if the audio didn't take, are we all back at 7:00 tonight?
Yeah, maybe. That'd be great. The redraft would be fascinating, actually. I'll just send out a group text. Everyone go get hammered. We're redrafting at 9 p.m. tonight.
That would actually be fun.
Yeah.
Zach's yawning right now. I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah.
Looks like shit.
That 1 pint of beer. It's when you have a toddler at home, it goes fast.
You do look awful, man. I mean, I usually feel myself.
I'm not going to Nebraska this weekend. I'll recover from my weekend off of IU football.
Outstanding. You do look good though. I would say I disagree with Graham. You just with the saddest palms are dragged across your face there. All right, I'm going to end this thing. We really appreciate everyone listening. We hope this worked out. Make sure you read everyone's wonderful work here. Check Twitter and follow all these guys, Zach and Graham and Jim. Really appreciate you guys doing this. It was we know you're asking you to cut out time at the busy time of year, so we do thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, same. Go Miles Dread.
Yeah, I've placed a lot of faith in Indiana's backcourt, so my winter is going to go one of two ways in terms of travel and also success in this draft, basically.
Man, you're putting a lot on this. All right, I will sign it off. Make sure you subscribe to umhoops.com. Make sure you subscribe to The Athletic. And actually, we like having a guest anytime I do a pod. Send us off with that setting. Graham, I know you actually listen to this podcast occasionally. Can you send us off by reminding people what they should be sure to do?
Subscribe, like. I don't know what else.
No.
I don't know what else you do. What do you say?
You got to tip your bartenders and servers.
Oh yeah, sorry. Usually I don't get to the end because I'm mowing.
Yeah, I was going to say I
You're
think
cutting out early. All right,
well,
forget all you guys.
Listen all the way to the end of the podcast.
It only takes me 45 minutes to do the lawn. Sometimes you go longer than that. So
you can all go to hell. Everyone out there, make sure you tip your bartenders and servers. We'll talk to you next week.